if the furniture room was Sotheby's, we're now in Tiffany's, a chamber of magnificent jewellery and personal ornaments. The gold collar. How immensely important this was for the rituals of immortality. No fewer than 17 of these collars were tucked amongst the bandages that covered Tutankhamun's neck and chest. It was the absolute divine protection against mortality. The solar and lunar pectoral we've already studied. And the triple scarab pectoral necklace in the same case, which reiterates the theme dark with magic, this insistence on the promise of millions of years. This necklace of the rising sun repeats the concept of the scarab grabbing hold of the sun with its forelegs and eternity with its hind legs, and on either side of it a sacred baboon whose function it was to greet the rising sun. Another rising sun theme in a necklace. There is to be no sunset, ever, for Tutankhamun. A decorated scarab. It may seem strange that the ancient Egyptians should adopt a scavenger beetle as a symbol of the deathless sun god, but they were entranced by the sight of the beetle rolling a ball of dung along the ground, for this action reminded them of the invisible power which rolled the sun daily across the sky, and when the beetle eggs hatched, out of the dung came life. Now this ivory piece, here's something different. To the Egyptians, the head and not the heart was the seat of life, and after death it was essential that the head should continue to function with the help of magic. This was a magic headrest. Tutankhamun's royal scepter. The Egyptian texts call a scepter like this either the controller, the powerful, or the commander. The inscription on the other side reads, "The good God, the beloved, dazzling face like the Aten when it shines, the son of Amun, living forever." The controller, the powerful, the commander. Row upon row of bulls trussed and slaughtered. There's an irony here when you remember that intensely young face. Another of those indispensable protective colors, this time in the form of the vulture goddess with outspread wings that enfold the shoulders of the wearer. A necklace with a vulture goddess pendant of solid gold, grasping eternity in its talons. Or a winged scarab pectoral of solid gold, that beetle again with eternity clenched in its back legs. The royal crook and the royal flail, the insignia of Tutankhamun's kingship. And the really interesting thing about the flail is that it bears on it the name of the king in its earlier form of Tutankhaten. Now you remember that when the boy king ascended the throne of Egypt, it was in the aftermath of the revolutionary or heretic pharaoh's reign, Akhenaten, who tried to overthrow the worship of the Amun in favor of Atenism. Well, when the old priesthood of the Amun made their comeback, Akhenaten was discredited, and the boy king's name was changed to Tutankhamun, which means the living image of Amun. It was a deliberate attempt to write Atenism out of history, but it failed, and it failed because of a glorious accident of archaeology. The climax of the exhibition of this journey back through eternity is perhaps the most celebrated work of art of the ancient world, the golden face mask of Tutankhamun. It was placed over the head and shoulders of his mummified body as the ultimate earnest of immortal life. And now, more than 30 centuries later, it's achieved at least some of its purpose. It's that familiar, intensely vulnerable face. On the brow, those twin insignia of divine royalty, the vulture and the cobra. The eyes and eyebrows dramatically made up, the ears pierced for those heavy pendant earrings of childhood. He was too young when he died to have accumulated a beard of such formidable length, and indeed it's a detachable false beard, the symbol of death, the beard of Osiris. It's all solid gold, beaten and burnished. The vulture's head and the cobra head are also of solid gold, intricately inlaid with glass and semi-precious stones. The stripes of the headdress are of blue glass in imitation of lapis lazuli, and the collar is encrusted with segments of lapis lazuli, quartz and green feldspar with a lotus bud border. Thy soul liveth, says the inscription, and thy veins are healthy. But that was more a pious hope than a statement of fact, because today Tutankhamun still lives in our imagination because his veins had been drained of blood, and because his soul had been commended to all the tutelary deities, and because his mortal remains had been placed under the loyal vigilance of Maya, superintendent of the public works at the necropolis. And it turned out to be a very satisfying joint operation. It was Maya who fended off the tomb robbers of antiquity. It was Howard Carter who, after years of failure, found the hidden tomb. It was the Egyptian Museum in Cairo who loaned all these beautiful things for exhibition here in London. And it's a British museum that's been host to this splendid display. We have them all to thank. But there's one thought we perhaps ought to end up with. As a result of this exhibition, the British Museum hopes to hand over a profit of anything up to £1 million to UNESCO to help finance the rescue of the treasures of Philae in Egypt. £1 million. And for that, we have to thank this man, Tutankhamun, the boy king who, despite everything, achieved his immortality.